Ok, bah bienvenue, bonjour. Hein. Aujourd'hui, c'est le mardi 8 octobre. Okay. Okay. So this is kind of what I want to work on today. And we'll start with a reminder for the letter, talk a little bit about vocabulary work, and then j'aime porter, and I'll talk a little bit about what to do for tomorrow, pour mercredi. Okay. Okay, so there are still 12 folks between this class and the previous class who haven't turned in the letter yet. So I wanted to please invite you to turn that in as soon as it's done. Okay, so that doesn't mean turn it in today. That just means generally like as soon as you've finished with it and you feel like it's ready to turn it in, please turn that in. And again, we did a lot of work in class last week to try to make your life a little simpler, to try to get you a little closer to finishing so that it was easier to turn in on time. But no worries if it's a little late. I have sent off the letters to Madame Jourdan over in France. So for those of you who did agree to do the pen pal, your letter was sent and it is now in France because technology, and hopefully you'll be getting a response in the next week or so. So that's kind of exciting. The French students will be responding in French and then in English because they need to practice their English too. So they're going to do a little bit of a response in French to your letter in French and then a little bit in English. And when you respond to them, please, if you don't copy me and Madame Jourdan on the email, I'd rather you do that. But if you don't do that, please send me a screenshot or something just so I can see that you're practicing your French. You can respond a little bit in English at first and then follow up in French. But yeah. And for those of you who are participating in that, just so you know, I just need to check it off and see that you're doing it, and I can give you a little extra credit, a little bonus. So if you are one of the folks who has not yet turned in the letter, again, it's just a small handful, please complete the worksheet and then use that to start your letter so you're not just starting from scratch. And I'll come back to this in a moment, but I really want to help y'all understand this is a strategy I use in my classes where when I'm teaching and y'all have a project, because a lot of times it's a project, we'll work on it in class so that you have less work to do outside of class, but also so that you can build up these strategies to write in French and to express yourself in French. Okay. Somebody asked where to turn it in last class, so I just want to make that clear. If you go to the calendar, that's a good spot to go. I think I like using the calendar for this kind of stuff. And you can look at the letter. Okay, so I had to go back in time a little bit. You can find it here. And you'll submit it. It'll say submit assignment up here, and it'll be a text entry. So you can copy and paste something we've worked on. All right. I think that's it for the letter. I haven't started reading them in depth yet. I'm really excited to start reading them. I plan to start reading them and grading them today. So it'll take a little bit of time. I will also be updating PowerSchool. Progress reports go home tomorrow morning ish. So I'll be updating PowerSchool. I haven't kept PowerSchool up to date, but Canvas is up to date. So I'll just be spending some time today transferring those grades over from Canvas to PowerSchool. So yeah. Let me pause recording for a second. Okay. Okay, so for yesterday, I asked y'all to complete this little kind of, it's called a quiz, but it's not a quiz, right? It's called a quiz in Canvas because that's how I'm able to set up those fill in the blank questions for you. But just so it's clear, this is just practice, okay? This is not meant to be a quiz that's a big grade, it's just practice. So that's gonna happen a lot where there's something that is called a quiz in Canvas, but I will try to make it as clear as possible that it's just practice, all right? So let's go over this a little bit. And the images didn't carry over for some reason for Batman. He's too serious maybe. So let's go over these answers real quick together. And then I wanted to talk to you about something else that came up as we did this. So if somebody wants to shout out the answers, that's great. Otherwise, you can put it in the chat and I can plug it in here. So bonjour, je something Bruce Wayne. What is he going to be saying here?
M'appelle.
Je m'appelle. So for all these activities, I'm trying to build them for you using the vocabulary you already have or the stuff that we're already working on in class. So to work out is one of those verbs that I gave y'all with this slide, les loisirs, right? And I encourage y'all to take screen caps and stuff. What I want y'all to do is to figure out a system that works for you for taking notes, right? So if that's taking screen caps, if that's creating your own slides and putting notes on there, if that's writing it on paper, whatever works for you. But I want y'all to kind of take these notes and stuff. You're not memorizing stuff necessarily, right? But it's more just like, oh, I want to remember this expression or this expression. So if we look at this list, again, when I'm building these activities, I'm trying to draw on vocabulary you already have or that we're learning in the unit, right? I'm not trying to ask y'all to go super far away, trying to find vocabulary. So if you just look at this list, to work out, is there an expression here that you think would correspond to work out? Okay, so to work out is going to be faire du sport. Faire du sport. Faire du vélo. One person said faire du vélo. That's going to be to do bicycling. But faire du sport. Okay, to work out. Faire du sport. Faire de l'exercice. I've seen some of that used, but I think faire du sport is better. And it just means generally to work out. If you're doing a sport, you're probably going to talk about the specific sport. Jouer au basket or something like that. And one person is saying, oh no, I said this, and that's okay. This is practice. And I'm actually going to talk about that. A lot of folks made the same errors and it was very interesting. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. J'aime to work out. J'aime faire du sport. J'aime, comment dit-on to go to the movies en français? Comment dit-on going to the movies? Aller au cinéma. Yeah, you got it. J'aime aller au cinéma. Avec mes parents, that was a little dark, okay? Batman going to the movies with his parents. Je n'aime pas, comment dit-on to dance en français? Je n'aime pas danser. Et je n'aime pas, I don't like to speak with friends. He's very quiet, he's taciturn, he's serious. I don't like to speak with friends. And again, I'll kind of do what I would ask y'all to do, which is to go back to your notes or go back to a slide, for example. Something about ami, Yeah, so to speak, parler avec des amis, right? Speaking with friends. I don't like to speak with friends. Je ne suis pas, comment dit-on, patient. I am not patient. And so here I would invite y'all to, again, draw on the different words that we looked at for vocabulary and stuff in the different lessons, in your expression bank, things like that. So let's see down here, I think it was, so patient, okay? Je ne suis pas patient. And I chose Batman and Ursula, the Sea Witch, because they're kind of extreme, right? But also because I hope that they would be familiar to you, okay? Somebody put patient. So patient with an E on the end is going to be the feminine. And we're actually going to talk about that in the next unit a little bit, how adjectives agree with their subject. So it wasn't as essential for this first unit, but we're going to kind of continue our review of adjectives in the next unit and really talk about, okay, well, how do they change when it goes from masculine to feminine or from singular to plural? All right. So je ne suis pas patient. La justice m'appelle. Adieu. Justice calls. Farewell. Okay, really serious Batman. All right. And then Ursula the Sea Witch, I don't know if y'all know, but she was, her character design was inspired by a famous drag queen, which I think is awesome. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, so bonjour chérie. She's really over the top. Hello, dear. Sweetums, I think she says in the movie. I'll pause there. Okay, so we've got these answers for Ursula, right? Je suis ambitieuse, généreuse, and mean. So the opposite of nice. So nice is sympathique, sympathique, and then méchant. Yeah, méchant is going to be mean. Méchante, feminine, méchant, masculine. Okay, méchante. Je suis méchante quand il faut. I am mean when necessary. Okay, when I must be. J'adore faire du business et j'aime to make art. Enfin, je suis une artiste de la magie. Alors, que veux-tu, ma petite? Okay, so what can I do for you, my dear? To make art. Comment dit-on to make art in French? En français. Faire de l'art. You got it. Faire de l'art. Okay. Faire de l'art. Excellent. Okay. So again, I wanted to do this activity as a practice to kind of practice using these expressions that you've been using, these adjectives, and some of them, you know, with strong and maybe ambitious, maybe it was too much, maybe it wasn't ones that we had focused on enough kind of in class. But I want to encourage you all to keep taking notes and stuff to, as I'm presenting this stuff to you, to take screen caps, to take notes, so that these don't just get presented and then kind of fall away. Taking notes in whatever way makes sense to you. So maybe using the slideshow, right, that I send out to y'all to add to your vocabulary list, right? Maybe that's how you take notes. Maybe it's on paper, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to encourage y'all to do that so that you can then use those notes for this kind of activity. And again, this is not a quiz, right, in terms of like the grade weight. It's just a practice activity. I'm going to turn on the lights again real quick to kind of, okay, so I wanted to take a moment to go over some of the really interesting answers that y'all found. So there were some interesting answers that I saw. So faire du sport, I had hoped that y'all would kind of remember that from this list. But a lot of folks said faire du fitness, which works. But I would encourage you to use faire du sport. I feel like it's more generally used. Du fitness is also kind of an Anglicism. It's kind of an English word that's made its way into French. And in a lot of cases, that'll be okay, but I want to encourage you all to stick to the French words, and then you can learn the English versions, the anglicized ones a little later. And then there were some pretty funny ones with beautiful, for example. So a lot of folks, I thought, okay, belle, beau, belle, you'll get it, right? But a lot of folks struggled with this one. Beau, here we go, it's up here, I think. It was in your banque d'expression, right? So beau, belle, huh? But it was interesting. And so I couldn't figure out like, where are they getting these? And it was actually pretty simple. And I want to take this moment to kind of encourage y'all to avoid using Google Translate, okay? So beautiful, magnifique. A lot of folks put magnifique, and that's not, it's wrong. Because magnifique is generally going to be like wonderful, right? Like, oh, I'm wonderful, right? Je suis magnifique. So that means slightly different things, right? Beautiful is not quite the same as wonderful. But Google's doing its best, right? But it's not going to give you what you need most of the time. It doesn't know the context. So to work out, faire du fitness. So I was like, oh, okay, that's where folks are getting it from. So I want to take this moment to really encourage y'all very early on. I'm really glad this came up because this is a thing that that anyone's going to struggle with as they learn a language is you want to get words, you want to get vocabulary so you can speak or write just as you normally would, right? And so it's okay to get frustrated. It's okay to feel like, oh gosh, I want to say it this way, and this is how I would say it in my native language, and I want to say it that way in French. It's like, okay, well, it's going to take a little bit of time, right? That's my job. As your teacher, I feel like my job is to guide you and to get you more and more familiar with French, to more and more make your home in French, so that you feel like, oh, okay, I can express my full self in French. But in French too, we're not quite there yet, right? And so there's going to be that frustration. And I want to encourage you all to have some patience, but then also build that vocabulary. But I want to encourage you not to look too far afield for vocabulary. Because when you do that, you might get into this kind of situation where you're saying stuff that doesn't quite make sense. And so for Ursula, she is mean. She is not kind, right? So méchant was what I was looking for, and méchante. And I was so confused because a lot of folks put signifier. Uh, so I was like, oh, so I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So signifier, what do y'all think signifier means? It's got the same ending as something like travailler, regarder. Signifies, yeah, symbolizes. It means, right? It's a verb, to mean. Yeah, to mean. And then somebody put moyenne, which is a mean, like an average in math, right? And so when you do go to Google Translate and you use it as a dictionary, it's kind of gonna do you dirty sometimes, right? Like sometimes it'll work. I'm not saying don't ever use it. I'm just saying like it's gonna have you saying some goofy stuff. So signifier, I was so confused until I just popped this in, right? So I wanted to take this moment to say like, oh, okay, if you're gonna use it very, very carefully, knowing, okay, it doesn't really give you that context that you need. And I want to encourage you all to use the words that we're already working with, right? So 95% of the time, if I'm asking you to complete an activity, it's to work the stuff that we're already learning, that we're reviewing or that we're learning in class. So I really want to encourage you all to use your notes as you complete activities and to take notes, right? If you're not already. And so that doesn't mean having stuff memorized, right? I'm not saying like, oh, okay, to complete this activity, you got to have 500 vocabulary words memorized. No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't ask you to do it. Okay. So just know that most of the time when I ask you to do an activity, in fact, pretty much all the time, I'm going to try to ask you to do a practice activity to review stuff we already are learning. So it means that you won't have to go looking for them on a place like Google Translate or something like that. And then for something like the letter, a lot of times we'll be doing projects, right? And so building up towards that project, I'm gonna spend a lot of time in class, like precious class time working on that with y'all. Partly for this reason, so that you have less homework and more free time during the rest of the day. So if you show up and put in that work and you put in that good effort and you're with it and you're sticking with us through the synchronous lesson in class today, right here in Zoom, for example, you'll have less homework to do and the project will already be very much started. But then also so that you can ask me questions as they come up, right? And so if for the letter, for example, or for any other project, maybe you're feeling distracted in class or something or other. But what happened was, oftentimes folks will come to me at the last minute or after an assignment's due, like, oh, how do I say this? How do I say this? It's like, oh, okay, that's a lot easier to do when we're in class, right? So I can help you out with vocabulary words or give you immediate answers. So I want to encourage y'all to try to stick with these workshops when we do them in class as best you can, just in the interest of getting immediate answers, getting that help you need while I'm here, and not, 15 minutes before the project's due or something like that. Nobody really did that necessarily in this class. I think there was like 1 or 2 people, but it's a pattern I know in French 3 and French 4 and stuff too. And I want to encourage y'all to start that pattern. And so another reason why we do this is because writing in French is tricky. Writing in another language is tricky. And a lot of y'all are probably feeling that frustration, right? When you go to write this letter, you want to make a strong impression. You want to have it be as good as you can. And you probably want to say stuff exactly like you would say it in your native language, be it English or otherwise, right? But you're not quite there yet. And that's my job to slowly bring you there. And so with these workshops, what I'm trying to do is help you build up the vocabulary, do these little activities in the workshops and slides so that then you gradually get there instead of doing what a lot of students tend to do, even at UW and stuff, which is to write in English and then translate it into French. Because that's going to get you into trouble in terms of like, it's not going to turn out very well, or it's going to sound kind of funky sometimes. And so instead, what I want to try to help you do with these projects and these workshops is to get you into the habit of, oh, okay, brainstorming vocabulary, brainstorming expressions using a model text, thinking about how you want to organize your text directly in French, so that then you're breaking it up into smaller pieces and you're building it up. And so that when you go to write the letter itself in this example or the project, you've already got most of it's done. And not only that, it's done in French, and then you're not translating it. So if you must, if you really feel like you need to look up a vocabulary word, I would recommend looking up 2, maybe 3, right? Because then if you're looking up more than 2 or 3, you're probably not using the vocabulary that we're already working on in the unit. And that's usually what we're doing with the project, is really flexing the muscles that you've already built throughout the unit. So I want to recommend not looking up too many words when you're doing this kind of assignment, like a letter. But if you must look up words, I would recommend, again, avoid Google Translate, and I would recommend word reference. All right, so this is what it looks like, and you got a lot of other languages too. And this is for a few reasons, all right? It's not because of the ads. The ads are distracting and annoying. But the reason I recommend word reference is it offers you so much more that can help you say exactly what you're trying to say in French, okay? So first of all, pronunciation.
Méchant. Méchant.
And it's even got pronunciation from
Méchant.
Québécois.
Méchant.
So it's a little more nasal, okay? You can
Méchant.
slow it down, et cetera, et cetera. It's got the spelling. For verbs, it's got the conjugation of verbs. And so if you're looking up a word to try to express yourself in French, this is a really powerful tool. And I want to encourage you to use it for those 2 or 3 words you're looking up. Again, you shouldn't be looking up a whole lot of words when you're completing this kind of assignment. But for the few that you are looking up, this is why it's so much superior, is you've got the pronunciation, and then you've got translations, but you've got multiple translations. So you know exactly what you're trying to say, right? Mean, nasty, naughty, unkind. And then furthermore, and this is the part that I really go bananas for, I'm really excited about this part. It gives you examples. It gives you examples of the verb, of the word in context, right? So here, la petite fille ne voulait plus jouer avec son petit voisin méchant. C'était méchant de parler comme ça à ton petit camarade. And then it's got the translation in English. So you know exactly what those sentences are saying. And you know, oh, okay, that's how I want to use that word, right? And this one was kind of funny. Elle m'a fait une méchante réflexion. Dire à ta sœur qu'elle est moche, c'est méchant. She made a hurtful remark to me. Elle m'a fait une méchante réflexion. Dire à ta sœur qu'elle est moche, c'est méchant. It's mean to tell your sister she's ugly. It's really rude. I thought that was kind of funny. So again, I really want to recommend, if you are going to end up looking up those 1 words, 2, 3 words, right? Again, not too many more than that. I would really recommend word reference for that, for those reasons. Gives you context, and you're not gonna end up saying something goofy. All right. So I'm gonna pause sharing real quick. Okay. If questions come up, feel free, all right? And I don't want to tell you this stuff to say, never ask me a question, never ask me for what this word means. No, I'm happy to help y'all out. That's literally my job. That's literally my job. I'm really happy to do that. But I just want to help you build those good habits, right? To be successful all the way through your French career, whether it's in this class, in the next class, at a university, when you're becoming a French teacher yourself, or writing novels in French or manga in French. You know, I want to set you up for success. Okay. Okay, j'aime porter. J'aime porter. J'aime porter des vêtements. So let's talk about this a little bit. And tomorrow I'll be introducing you properly to the next unit. But today I wanted to kind of dip your toes in it and introduce you to it just in passing. So j'aime porter des vêtements. J'aime porter un polo. J'aime porter des polos. Je porte des lunettes. Je porte des lunettes. J'aime porter un polo. Comment dit-on porter en anglais? Je n'aime pas porter des chaussures. Je n'aime pas porter des chaussures. I don't like to wear shoes. Je n'aime pas porter des chaussures. C'est vrai. Comment dit-on porter en anglais? Just with those few examples, can you guess at what porter might mean? Just hazard a guess. I'll tell you, but Any ideas? J'aime porter. I like to. So j'aime is to like. J'aime porter. I like to wear. Porter. Porter. To wear. J'aime porter un polo. Je porte des lunettes. Okay. So j'aime porter des vêtements. Vêtements, vestments, clothing. J'aime porter des vêtements. And then here we would put an adjective for a style, perhaps. Okay. So what style? Or maybe even what color? Okay, so let's look at a few expressions and I'll ask you to guess what they mean in English in the chat, or you can say it out loud if you prefer. Okay, donc j'aime porter des vêtements chics. J'aime porter des vêtements chics. J'aime porter des vêtements chics. And if you want to do a little pronunciation at home, awesome. That's a great idea. J'aime porter des vêtements chics. J'aime porter des vêtements chics. Yeah, fancy. Ooh, iconic. I like that one. Yeah. What do you think chic might mean? Comment dit-on chic en anglais? J'aime porter des vêtements chics. A little quirky, maybe. Fashionable. Yeah, fashionable, stylish, chic. We use it in English too. J'aime porter des vêtements chics. Snazzy. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's such a great word in English. Snazzy, schnazzy. Okay. Yeah, snazzy, sharp, fashionable, chic. Chic. Okay. J'aime porter des vêtements chics. Somebody said, what about clique? Clique is French. Yeah, click. So a click, somebody's click. C-L-I-Q-U-E. And cliquer is to click in French. I don't know how it came over to English. I'll have to look that up. It's a good question. But chic means fashionable. J'aime porter des vêtements classiques. J'aime porter des vêtements classiques. J'aime porter des vêtements classiques. Classy, yeah, classy is a good one. Yeah, I'd say classy. Yeah, that fits. Classique. Another way we might say it in English would be kind of traditional, classic. Okay, kind of classic style, traditional style. J'aime porter des vêtements classiques. But classy, definitely, yeah. And with clothing, as with art, it's going to be kind of like, okay, well, it fits into this box. We could describe it as classic, but we could also describe it as this. We could also describe it as, right? So it's never going to be 100% neat and tidy. Like, okay, that's a, sometimes it is. I feel like this is very much classique with the tie. I feel like this is very classique, a blouse and tailored pants. Okay, classique, I also tend to associate with kind of simple, right? And elegant. So we're thinking like two tones, so black and white, right? Classique. J'aime porter des vêtements classiques. J'aime porter des vêtements décontractés. J'aime porter des vêtements décontractés. J'aime porter des vêtements décontractés. Ah, somebody thinks modern. Not quite, not so much modern. Des vêtements décontractés. Simple, simple. Yep. Casual, yeah, somebody got it in the chat. Casual. Décontracté. Casual, décontracté literally means like unwound or relaxed, okay? So, donc, des vêtements décontractés, des vêtements casual. They will say casual in French, but I would encourage y'all to use décontracté. Donc, des vêtements décontractés. You can be une personne décontractée. You can be a relaxed person, a chill person, right? But for clothing, it's going to be casual, right? Décontracté. Okay. J'aime porter des vêtements décontractés. And I was surprised to see a lot of young women wearing this kind of color of sweater, like a pullover sweater, and I was very confused because it's not a very typical style. And I wonder if it wasn't inspired by the recent protests in France in last winter, so about a year ago. Does anybody know about the yellow vest protests? Gilets jaunes protests? Okay, so des vêtements décontractés. So again, this is kind of casual, more relaxed style. Ok, donc j'aime porter des vêtements. Et toi, tu aimes porter quel style de vêtements? Tu aimes porter des vêtements décontractés? Tu aimes porter des vêtements classiques? Des vêtements chics? Hein? Donc ce soir, pense à ton style. Tu aimes porter quel style de vêtements? So for tonight, as kind of homework, it's not really homework, I'm not asking you to submit anything, but think about your style. Think about what style of clothing you wear, right? And you may think, oh, Mr. Hare, I don't have a style. You probably do though. You probably do, right? You probably have some clothes that you really like to wear and other clothes that you'd be like, no, I'm not gonna go outside in that, right? Or like, oh, I can't wait to go out in this outfit. Right? Maybe you're not super excited about fashion or clothing or anything like that, but you probably still have a style. You have a preference, right? Yeah. Somebody said sweatpants, sweatshirt. One of those, virtual learning is really rough in a lot of ways, but one thing I'm really grateful for is that y'all can just be cozy. I'm really happy for y'all to just be cozy at home as you show up for class, especially in these winters here in Wisconsin. Oof. So for tonight, think about your style. What kind of style do you have? And I can help you think of some words to say that in French, right? So just off the top of your head, are there any words that come up to you? What kind of style do you wear? What's your style? You could put it in the chat or you could speak up. What's your style? Alternative, yeah. Oh, I like that one. Alternative. All right, yeah. I don't have an equivalent of that off the top of my head. Maybe excentrique. But I'll have to look into that. Alternative, cozy. All right, yeah. So think about your style tonight, okay? Think about your style for class tomorrow so we can talk about it in class tomorrow. And tomorrow, again, I'll go through module 2, unit 2. So, donc demain, je vous présenterai module 2, les vêtements. And for unit 2, we're going to focus on clothing and fashion and different kind of fabrics and descriptions and stuff. But I'll talk to you about it more in detail. I'll break down kind of what we're going to be doing, so on and so forth. All right, I'll stick around in case there are questions. Otherwise, I will say au revoir.